Sarah Chen sat in the back corner of her math class, trying to make herself as small as possible. Her thick black glasses kept sliding down her nose, and she pushed them up for the 10th time that morning. The other students around her were talking and laughing, but Sarah kept her eyes on her notebook. She had learned long ago that it was better to stay quiet. The bell rang and everyone rushed out of the classroom. Sarah waited until most students had left before she packed her books. She did not want to get caught in the crowd. She did not want anyone to notice her. In the hallway, she walked close to the wall, keeping her head down. "Hey, Sarah," called out Jessica, one of the popular girls. Sarah looked up, surprised that anyone knew her name. "Nice shirt. Did you get it from the trash bin?" The other girls with Jessica started laughing. Sarah looked down at her faded blue shirt. It was old, yes, but it was clean. Her mother had bought it for her 2 years ago, and it was still in good shape. Sarah did not say anything back. She just kept walking. This happened every day. Someone would make a joke about her clothes, her glasses, or the way she walked. Sarah was used to it now, but it still hurt. She wondered what it would feel like to have friends who liked her for who she was. At lunchtime, Sarah did not go to the cafeteria like the other students. Instead, she went to the music room. Mr. Peterson, the music teacher, always left it open during lunch. He said students could use it to practice if they wanted. Most students did not want to spend their lunchtime in a classroom, so Sarah usually had the room to herself. She sat down at the old piano in the corner. The keys were yellow with age, and some of them stuck when she pressed them. But Sarah did not mind. She opened her notebook and looked at the words she had written there. They were lyrics to songs she had created. She had been writing songs since she was 12 years old. Sarah began to play a soft melody on the piano. Then she started to sing quietly. Her voice was different when she sang. It was strong and clear and beautiful. When she sang, she did not feel small or invisible. She felt like she could do anything. The song was about a girl who felt alone in the world. The girl in the song dreamed of a place where she could be herself without fear, where people would see her heart instead of just her appearance. Sarah sang the words with feeling, and tears came to her eyes. That was beautiful. Sarah jumped and stopped singing. She turned around and saw Mr. Peterson standing in the doorway. She felt her face turn red with embarrassment. "I am sorry," Sarah said quickly. "I did not know you were there. I will leave." "No, please stay," Mr. Peterson said, walking into the room. "I heard you singing from down the hall. You have a wonderful voice, Sarah. Have you ever thought about performing?" Sarah shook her head fast. "Oh no, I could never do that. I am not good enough." Mr. Peterson sat down on a chair next to the piano. "Sarah, I have been teaching music for 20 years. I know talent when I hear it. You have something special." "But I am not like the other students," Sarah said softly. "They do not like me. They would just laugh if I tried to sing in front of them." "Sometimes the best artists are the ones who feel different," Mr. Peterson said. "Your voice has emotion in it. Real emotion. That is something you cannot teach." Sarah looked down at her hands on the piano keys. She had always dreamed of singing for other people, but she was too scared. What if they laughed at her? What if they thought she was foolish for trying? "There is a talent show next month," Mr. Peterson said. "Students can sign up to perform. You should think about it." "I could never do that," Sarah whispered. "Just think about it," Mr. Peterson said gently. "Your voice deserves to be heard." After lunch, Sarah went to her next class, but she could not focus on the lesson. She kept thinking about what Mr. Peterson had said. Could she really sing in front of the whole school? The idea made her stomach feel sick with fear. In history class, she sat behind Tommy Martinez, one of the football players. He turned around and looked at her glasses. "Hey, Sarah, can you see the moon with those things?" he asked, and his friends started laughing. Sarah felt her face get hot. She wanted to say something back, but the words would not come. She just stared at her desk until Tommy turned around. After school, Sarah walked home alone like always. She lived in a small house with her mother and her little brother Danny. Her father had left when Danny was a baby, and her mother worked 2 jobs to pay for everything they needed. Sarah tried to help by taking care of Danny after school. "How was school today?" her mother asked when Sarah walked in the door. Her mother, Linda, looked tired. She always looked tired these days. "It was okay," Sarah said. She never told her mother about the mean things other students said. Her mother had enough problems to worry about. Danny ran up to Sarah and hugged her legs. He was 6 years old and thought Sarah was the most amazing person in the world. "Sarah, will you play with me?" "Let me do my homework first," Sarah said, smiling at her little brother. Then we can play." That night, after Danny went to bed, Sarah sat in her room and looked at her notebook full of songs. She had written so many words about feeling alone, about wanting to belong, about dreams that seemed too big to reach. Maybe Mr. Peterson was right. Maybe her voice did deserve to be heard. But every time she thought about standing on a stage in front of all those students, her heart started beating fast. She remembered all the times they had laughed at her, all the mean comments, all the looks that made her feel like she was nothing. Sarah closed her notebook and got ready for bed. Tomorrow would be another day of trying to be invisible, another day of eating lunch alone in the music room, another day of pretending that the cruel words did not hurt. But deep inside, a small part of her heart was starting to hope. Maybe, just maybe, she could find the courage to let people hear her voice. Maybe she could show them that there was more to Sarah Chen than thick glasses and old clothes. As she fell asleep, Sarah dreamed of standing on a stage, singing her heart out while people listened with respect and wonder. It was just a dream, but it felt so real that she woke up smiling. 3 weeks passed since Mr. Peterson first talked to Sarah about the talent show. Every day she saw the bright yellow sign on the wall outside the main office. "Annual talent show, sign up now," it said in big red letters. Every day Sarah walked past it quickly, trying not to look, but she could not stop thinking about it. During her quiet lunches in the music room, she found herself practicing new songs. Her voice was getting stronger, more confident. When no one was listening, she felt brave and powerful, but the thought of real people watching her still made her hands shake. "You have been writing a lot lately," Mr. Peterson said one day when he found Sarah in the music room. "New songs?" Sarah nodded and closed her notebook quickly. "Just silly stuff. Can I hear one?" he asked, sitting down in his usual chair. Sarah felt nervous, but Mr. Peterson had always been kind to her. She opened her notebook to a song she had written the night before. It was about feeling different and trying to find where you belong in the world. She started to sing softly, her fingers moving over the piano keys. The song talked about a bird that did not know how to fly with the other birds. It felt clumsy and wrong until it learned that it had its own special way of flying. When she finished, Mr. Peterson was quiet for a moment. "Sarah, that song is about you, is not it?" Sarah looked down at her hands. "Maybe. It is beautiful. And it is true. You do have your own special way of flying," he paused. "The talent show sign-up's close tomorrow." Sarah felt her stomach drop. "I know. I think you should do it." "Mr. Peterson, you do not understand," Sarah said, her voice getting higher. "They hate me. They think I am a joke. If I get up there and try to sing, they will just laugh and make fun of me even more." "Maybe some of them will," Mr. Peterson said honestly. "But maybe some of them will really listen. Maybe they will hear what I hear when you sing. What if I forget the words? What if my voice cracks? What if I trip walking onto the stage? What if you do not try and you spend the rest of your life wondering what might have happened?" That afternoon, Sarah could not focus on any of her classes. In English, Mrs. Davis was talking about being brave in stories, but all Sarah could think about was the yellow sign and Mr. Peterson's words. During math class, she found herself drawing musical notes in the margins of her worksheet. She wrote down some lyrics about taking chances and facing fears. Before she knew it, she had written half a song. At lunch, instead of going straight to the music room, Sarah stood in front of the talent show sign-up sheet. There were already 20 names on the list. She saw the names of popular kids, athletes, and students who were in the drama club. Everyone on the list was confident and well-liked. "What are you looking at, Sarah?" Sarah turned around and saw Ashley Thompson, one of the prettiest and most popular girls in school. Ashley was with her group of friends, and they were all staring at Sarah like she was some strange animal at the zoo. "Nothing," Sarah said quickly, trying to walk away. "Wait," Ashley said, looking at the sign-up sheet. "You are not thinking of signing up for the talent show, are you?" The other girls started giggling. Sarah felt her face turn bright red. "That would be so funny," said Madison, another popular girl. "What would you do, Sarah? Tell jokes?" "Because that would be hilarious." "Maybe she could do a magic trick and make herself disappear," said Chloe, and all the girls burst out laughing. Sarah wanted to run away, but her feet felt stuck to the floor. She opened her mouth to say something, but no words came out. "Leave her alone." Everyone turned around. It was Marcus Williams, a boy from Sarah's math class. He was not popular, but he was not picked on either. He was just a regular student who minded his own business. "We are just talking," Ashley said, but she looked uncomfortable. No, you are being mean, Marcus said. Come on, Sarah, let me walk with you to class. Sarah followed Marcus down the hall, her heart still beating fast. She was grateful that he had helped her, but she also felt embarrassed that she had needed help. Do not listen to them, Marcus said as they walked. They think they are better than everyone else, but they are not. Thanks, Sarah said quietly. Are you really thinking about signing up for the talent show? Sarah looked at him with surprise. How did you know? You were looking at the sign-up sheet like you wanted to write your name but were scared to do it. Sarah nodded. I like to sing, but I do not think I am good enough to perform in front of people. I bet you are better than you think, Marcus said. And even if you are not perfect, at least you would be trying something brave. That night at home, Sarah sat at the kitchen table doing homework while her mother made dinner. Danny was coloring in his coloring book next to her. Mom, Sarah said carefully, what would you do if you wanted to do something but you were really scared? Her mother looked up from the stove. That is a hard question, honey. I guess it would depend on how important the thing was to me. What if it was really important but you knew people might laugh at you? Linda sat down at the table across from Sarah. Baby, people have been laughing at our family for years because we do not have much money, and your father left us. But we have kept going anyway, have not we? Sarah nodded. Sometimes the things that scare us the most are the things we need to do the most, her mother said. What is this about? Sarah told her mother about the talent show and how much she loved to sing. She told her about Mr. Peterson encouraging her and about the mean girls at school. I have heard you singing in your room, her mother said with a smile. You have a beautiful voice, Sarah. If singing makes you happy, then maybe you should share that happiness with other people. But what if they hate it? Then at least you will know you tried. And Danny and I will be there cheering for you no matter what happens. Danny looked up from his coloring. You sing really pretty, Sarah. Like a princess. That night, Sarah lay in bed thinking about everything that had happened. She thought about Marcus standing up for her, about her mother's encouraging words, about Danny thinking she sounded like a princess. She thought about all the songs she had written and all the feelings she had poured into them. She got out of bed and took her notebook from her desk. By the light of her small lamp, she read through all the songs she had written. They were about feeling alone, about wanting to be accepted, about having dreams that seemed impossible. Maybe other people felt the same way. Maybe her songs could help someone else feel less alone. The next morning, Sarah woke up with butterflies in her stomach. It was the last day to sign up for the talent show. She got dressed and went to school, the decision still not made in her mind. During first period, she could barely pay attention to the lesson. During second period, she kept looking at the clock. At lunchtime, instead of going to the music room, she walked slowly toward the main office. The yellow sign was still there. There were now 25 names on the list. Sarah took the pen that was hanging from a string next to the sign. Her hand was shaking as she held it. She thought about Ashley and her friends laughing. She thought about all the students who had made fun of her clothes and her glasses and the way she walked. She thought about how small and invisible they made her feel. Then she thought about her song about the bird learning to fly in its own special way. She thought about Mr. Peterson saying her voice deserved to be heard. She thought about her mother working 2 jobs and still finding time to encourage her dreams. Sarah took a deep breath and wrote her name on the sign-up sheet. Sarah Chen, original song. As soon as she finished writing, she wanted to erase it, but it was too late. Her name was there for everyone to see. She had done it. She had signed up for the talent show. Now she just had to find the courage to actually perform. The news spread fast. By the end of the day, it seemed like everyone in school knew that Sarah Chen had signed up for the talent show. Sarah could hear people whispering as she walked down the halls. Did you see that Sarah girl signed up for the talent show? What is she going to do, trip and fall? This is going to be so funny. Sarah kept her head down and tried to ignore the comments, but each word felt like a small knife in her heart. She began to wonder if signing up had been the biggest mistake of her life. In her last class of the day, Sarah sat behind 2 girls who were talking about the talent show. I cannot wait to see what Sarah Chen does, one of them said with a mean laugh. It is going to be so embarrassing. I feel kind of bad for her, the other girl said. She seems nice enough. Nice does not mean talented, the first girl replied. Some people just do not know their place. Sarah felt tears starting to form in her eyes. She excused herself to go to the bathroom and spent the rest of class hiding in a stall, trying not to cry. After school, She went straight to the music room. Mr. Peterson was there grading papers. "I heard you signed up," he said with a big smile. "I am so proud of you, Sarah." "I think I made a mistake," Sarah said, sitting down heavily in a chair. "Everyone is talking about it. They think it is going to be funny when I fail. What song are you going to perform?" Sarah opened her notebook to a song she had written called Finding My Voice. It was about feeling invisible and learning to speak up for yourself. "Can I hear it?" Mr. Peterson asked. Sarah sang the song for him, her voice shaky at first but growing stronger as she continued. When she finished, Mr. Peterson was smiling. "That is perfect," he said. "That song is you, Sarah. It is honest and real and beautiful. But what if I forget the words? What if my voice cracks? What if they boo me off the stage?" "Sarah, let me tell you something," Mr. Peterson said, moving his chair closer to hers. "I have been watching you for 2 years. You come in here every day and pour your heart into your music. You have more passion and talent than half the students who think they are stars. But they are confident. They know how to talk to people and make friends. I am just weird." "Different is not weird, Sarah. Different is special. The world does not need another copy of everyone else. It needs the original you." That evening, Sarah sat in her room practicing her song over and over. Danny came in and sat on her bed listening. "Are you nervous about singing for people?" he asked. "Very nervous," Sarah admitted. "When I get nervous about reading out loud in class, I pretend everyone is wearing silly hats," Danny said. "It makes me laugh, and then I am not scared anymore." Sarah smiled at her little brother. "That is good advice. Will you practice one more time?" "I like your song," Sarah sang for Danny, and he clapped when she finished. "You are going to be the best one in the whole show," he said seriously. The next few days at school were hard. Sarah noticed more people staring at her and whispering. Some of them seemed curious, but many looked like they were already laughing at a joke that had not happened yet. During lunch on Wednesday, Sarah was in the music room when Ashley Thompson walked in with 2 of her friends. "Oh, Sarah," Ashley said in a fake sweet voice. "We heard you were going to be in the talent show." "That is so brave of you." Sarah looked up from her sheet music but did not say anything. "What are you going to sing? Something sad about being lonely?" Ashley's friend Madison asked. "We are just wondering because we want to know what to expect," Ashley said. "I mean, we do not want to laugh at the wrong parts." Sarah felt her face getting hot. "It is an original song." "Original?" Ashley laughed. "You wrote a song? That is so cute. Like a little kid writing a story." "Leave her alone," came a voice from the doorway. Marcus Williams was standing there with his lunch tray. "We are just talking," Ashley said. "No, you are being bullies," Marcus said firmly. "Find something better to do." Ashley and her friends left. But not before Ashley said, "Good luck in the talent show. Sarah, you're going to need it." After they were gone, Marcus sat down next to Sarah. "Are you okay?" Sarah shook her head. Tears were running down her face. "I cannot do this. Everyone thinks it is a joke. They are all waiting for me to fail so they can laugh at me." "Not everyone," Marcus said. "I do not think it is a joke. You have never even heard me sing. Can I hear you now?" Sarah looked at him for a long moment. Then she wiped her eyes and sang a few lines of her song. Marcus listened carefully. "Wow," he said when she finished. "Sarah, you are really good." "Like really good. You are just being nice." "No, I am not. I am honest about everything. Ask anyone. You have an amazing voice." That weekend, Sarah practiced constantly. She sang in her room, in the shower, while walking around the house. Her mother and Danny encouraged her, but Sarah could not shake the feeling that she was heading for disaster. On Monday morning, 1 week before the talent show, there were posters up all around school advertising the event. Sarah's stomach dropped when she saw her name on the list of performers. During first period, a group of boys behind her were talking about the talent show acts. "I heard that weird girl Sarah is going to sing," one of them said. "This is going to be better than YouTube," another one replied. "Someone should definitely record it. I almost feel bad for her. She has no idea how embarrassing this is going to be." Sarah wanted to disappear. She spent the rest of the week trying to avoid people's stares and comments. Some students seemed genuinely curious about her performance, but many others were clearly expecting entertainment of the wrong kind. On Thursday, Mr. Peterson called Sarah into his classroom after school. "I want you to practice on the real stage," he said. "The talent show is tomorrow night and you should get comfortable with the space." They walked to the school auditorium together. It was a big room with hundreds of seats. The stage looked huge and scary under the bright lights. "Go ahead," Mr. Peterson said. "Sing your song." Sarah walked onto the stage. The empty seats seemed to stare at her like hundreds of eyes. Her voice came out small and shaky at first. "Louder," Mr. Peterson called from the back of the auditorium. "Sing like you mean it." Sarah tried again, this time putting more power into her voice. The song echoed through the empty room, and for a moment she felt how beautiful it could sound. "Perfect," Mr. Peterson said when she finished. "Tomorrow night when you get nervous, remember how that felt. Remember that your voice belongs here." That night Sarah could barely sleep. She kept thinking about all the things that could go wrong. She could trip walking onto the stage. She could forget the words to her own song. Her voice could crack on the high notes. The microphone could stop working. The piano could be out of tune. But worse than all of that, she kept imagining the sound of hundreds of people laughing at her. She pictured Ashley and her friends in the front row, recording everything on their phones. She imagined the video being shared around school, maybe even around the internet. At 2 a.m. she got up and wrote a new verse for her song. It was about facing your fears even when everyone expects you to fail. She sang it quietly so she would not wake up Danny, and somehow, writing those new words made her feel a little braver. Tomorrow night, she would find out if Mr. Peterson was right about her voice deserving to be heard. Tomorrow night she would discover if she really was the joke everyone thought she was, or if there was something more inside her waiting to come out. Either way, there was no turning back now. The talent show was tomorrow and Sarah Chen was going to sing. Friday came faster than Sarah wanted it to. She woke up with her stomach in knots and could barely eat breakfast. Her mother made her favorite pancakes, but Sarah could only take a few bites. "You are going to be wonderful tonight," her mother said, squeezing Sarah's shoulder. "Your father may not be here to see it, but Danny and I will be cheering loud enough for 10 people." At school, Sarah felt like everyone was looking at her differently. Some students smiled at her in the hallways, which had never happened before. Others pointed and whispered. During lunch, she went to the music room one last time to practice. "Today is the big day," Mr. Peterson said when he found her there. "How are you feeling?" "Terrified," Sarah said honestly. "Good, that means you care about what you are doing. The best performers are always nervous before they go on stage. What if I mess up?" "Then you mess up." "But Sarah, what if you do not mess up? What if you get up there and show everyone who you really are?" Sarah nodded, but her hands were still shaking when she tried to play the piano. The talent show was set to start at 7 o'clock. Sarah spent the afternoon at home, trying on different outfits. Nothing looked right to her. Everything seemed too old or too plain or just wrong for being on stage. Finally, her mother came into her room. "Wear this," she said, holding up a simple blue dress that Sarah had never seen before. "Where did this come from?" "I bought it yesterday after work," her mother said with a smile. "I wanted you to have something special to wear tonight." The dress was perfect. It was not fancy, but it was new and pretty and fit Sarah well. When she put it on, she almost looked like a different person. "You look beautiful," her mother said, tears in her eyes. "I am so proud of you for being brave enough to do this." They arrived at school at 6:30. The auditorium was already filling up with students, parents, and teachers. Sarah peeked through the curtain and saw hundreds of people taking their seats. Her stomach felt like it was full of butterflies doing somersaults. Backstage, the other performers were getting ready. There was Jamie Martinez, who was going to do a magic show. Lisa Wong was warming up her voice for a Broadway song. The dance team was stretching and practicing their routine. Sarah sat in a corner by herself, going over the lyrics to her song one more time. She had written them down on a piece of paper just in case she forgot, but she knew the words by heart. Sarah Chen, a student with a clipboard, found her. "You are performing 8th right after the comedy act." Sarah nodded. 8th out of 12 acts. That meant she would have to wait through 7 other performances before it was her turn. The show started, and Sarah could hear the audience cheering for each act. The magic show got big applause. A boy who played guitar and sang a popular song got people clapping along. The dance team got a standing ovation. With each act, Sarah felt more nervous. These were all polished, confident performers who knew how to work with an audience. What was she doing here? "Sarah?" Mr. Peterson appeared next to her. "It is almost your turn. How are you doing?" "I think I'm going to be sick," Sarah whispered. "That is normal. Just remember what we practiced. Get up there, find a friendly face in the audience, and sing to that person. Pretend it is just you and them in the room. The comedy act before Sarah got huge laughs from the audience. As the performer took his bow and left the stage, Sarah felt like her legs might not carry her. Next up, we have Sarah Chen performing an original song. The announcer said into the microphone. This was it. There was no turning back now. Sarah walked onto the stage on shaky legs. The lights were so bright that she could barely see the audience, but she could feel hundreds of eyes watching her. She sat down at the piano bench and adjusted the microphone. That was when it started. Someone in the audience giggled. Then someone else. Sarah looked up and saw some students in the front few rows with smiles on their faces that were not kind. She heard someone whisper, "This should be good." And more people laughed. Sarah's hands were trembling as she placed them on the piano keys. She tried to find a friendly face in the crowd like Mr. Peterson had told her. But the lights were too bright and she was too nervous. She started to play the introduction to her song, but her fingers slipped and she hit a wrong note. More giggles came from the audience. "Come on, Sarah," someone called out, and it did not sound encouraging. Sarah stopped playing and looked out at the sea of faces. Some people looked curious and patient, waiting to hear what she had to offer, but too many others looked like they were already enjoying a joke at her expense. She could see Ashley Thompson in the third row with her phone out, probably recording. She could hear whispers and see students nudging each other and pointing at her. This was exactly what she had been afraid of. They thought she was a joke before she had even sung a single note. Sarah's throat felt tight and dry. Her heart was beating so hard she was sure everyone could hear it through the microphone. For a moment, she thought about standing up and walking off the stage. She could pretend she was sick. She could just disappear and never show her face at school again. But then she saw her mother and Danny in the middle section of the auditorium. Her mother was giving her an encouraging smile and a thumbs up. Danny was bouncing in his seat with excitement. Sarah also saw Marcus from her math class near the back. He was not laughing. He was watching her seriously, like he really wanted to hear her sing. And there was Mr. Peterson standing to the side of the auditorium with the other teachers. He nodded at her with confidence, like he believed in her completely. Sarah took a deep breath. She thought about all the hours she had spent in the music room, singing alone. She thought about all the feelings she had poured into her songs. She thought about the new verse she had written at 2 a.m. about facing your fears. She started playing again, this time more carefully. The melody was simple but beautiful. Some people in the audience were still whispering and giggling, but Sarah tried to block them out. Then she began to sing. Her voice came out small and shaky at first, just like in practice. The first few words were hard to hear, and Sarah could see people in the front rows leaning forward with confused looks on their faces. But as she got into the first verse of her song, something began to change. The words were about feeling invisible, about being the girl nobody sees or understands. As Sarah sang about loneliness and being different, her voice started to grow stronger. The giggles from the audience began to fade. People stopped whispering. Sarah's voice was getting clearer and more powerful with each line. She sang about wearing glasses that make you look different, about eating lunch alone, about walking through hallways where everyone knows your name but nobody knows your heart. The words were simple but true, and Sarah sang them with growing confidence. By the time she reached the chorus, her voice was soaring through the auditorium. The song talked about finding the courage to speak up, about believing you have something important to say even when the world tells you to stay quiet. Sarah could feel something changing in the room. The laughter had stopped completely. Students who had been slouching in their seats were sitting up straighter. People who had been looking at their phones were putting them away and actually listening. But the most important change was happening inside Sarah herself. With each note she sang, she felt braver and stronger. This was her voice, her song, her truth. And for the first time in her life, people were really listening to her. As Sarah moved into the second verse of her song, something magical was happening in the auditorium. The room had become completely quiet except for her voice and the piano. Even the students who had been laughing before were now listening carefully. Sarah sang about the girl who sits in the back of every class, invisible to everyone around her. She sang about going home to a house where the electricity sometimes gets turned off, and there is never enough money for new clothes. She sang about having big dreams in a small world that tells you to dream smaller. But Sarah was not just singing about sadness. Her song was also about hope. She sang about finding strength in quiet moments, about discovering that being different was not something to be ashamed of. She sang about learning that your voice matters, even if it sounds different from everyone else's. As she reached the bridge of her song, Sarah's voice grew even more powerful. She sang the new verse she had written the night before, the one about standing up despite your fears. I am tired of being invisible, tired of hiding who I am. I have something to say and I will say it, even if my voice shakes, even if I am afraid, because maybe there is someone else out there who feels just like me, who needs to hear that they are not alone. When Sarah sang those words, she saw something incredible happening in the audience. A girl in the fifth row had tears running down her face. A boy near the back was nodding his head like he understood exactly what she was singing about. Even some of the popular students looked moved by her words. Sarah realized that her song was not just about her anymore. It was about every student who had ever felt left out or different or invisible. It was about every person who had ever been afraid to show the world who they really were. She looked out at the audience with new confidence. The bright lights did not seem so scary anymore. The hundreds of faces did not look threatening. They looked curious and interested and even caring. Ashley Thompson, who had been holding up her phone to record, slowly put it down. She was staring at Sarah with an expression that was not mean or mocking. It was surprised, like she was seeing Sarah for the first time. Sarah sang the final chorus with everything she had. Her voice filled every corner of the auditorium, strong and clear and beautiful. She sang about finding your voice and using it, about believing in yourself even when others do not believe in you. This is my voice, she sang, and I will not be silent anymore. This is my song and it belongs to me. I am here, I am real, and I have something to say. When she reached the last notes of her song, Sarah put all of her emotion into them. She thought about every lonely lunch in the music room, every cruel comment in the hallway. Every night she had cried herself to sleep feeling like she did not matter. But she also thought about her mother working 2 jobs to support their family, about Danny believing she sounded like a princess, about Mr. Peterson seeing her talent when no one else did. She thought about Marcus standing up for her and the courage it had taken to sign up for this talent show. The final note rang out across the auditorium and then faded into complete silence. Sarah sat at the piano, breathing hard. Her heart was still pounding, but now it was from excitement rather than fear. She had done it. She had sung her song in front of the whole school, and she had not run away or forgotten the words or fallen off the stage. For a moment, that felt like forever. Nobody in the audience moved or made a sound. Sarah wondered if she had done something wrong. Maybe they had not liked her song after all. Maybe they were sitting in shocked silence because it had been even worse than they expected. But then she looked more carefully at the faces in the crowd. The girl in the fifth row was still crying, but she was also smiling. The boy near the back was sitting forward in his seat with his mouth slightly open, like he could not believe what he had just heard. Sarah could see her mother and Danny in their seats. Her mother had tears streaming down her face, and Danny was clapping his small hands together silently, his eyes wide with amazement. Mr. Peterson was standing with the other teachers, and he had the biggest smile Sarah had ever seen on his face. He nodded at her with pride and gave her 2 thumbs up. Then something happened that Sarah never could have imagined. One person started clapping. It was Marcus standing up in the back of the auditorium and applauding loudly. Then the person next to him stood up and started clapping too. Within seconds, more people were standing. Then more. Sarah watched in amazement as row after row of students got to their feet, clapping and cheering for her. But it was not the kind of cheering you hear for a sports team or a funny joke. This was different. This was respectful applause, the kind you give to someone who has just shared something real and important with you. Even Ashley Thompson was standing and clapping, though she looked confused about her own reaction. Soon the entire auditorium was on their feet. Parents, teachers, and students were all applauding for Sarah Chen, the quiet girl with thick glasses who usually ate lunch alone. Sarah stood up from the piano bench on shaky legs. She could not believe this was really happening. These were the same people who had laughed at her clothes and ignored her in the hallways and expected her to fail tonight. But they were not laughing now. They were seeing her, really seeing her, for the first time. Sarah walked to the front of the stage and gave a small bow like she had seen other performers do. The applause got even louder. She looked out at all those faces and realized that something had changed forever. She was not invisible anymore. She had found her voice and people had listened. As she walked off the stage, Sarah felt like she was floating. Her legs were still shaking, but now it was from excitement and disbelief rather than fear. Mr. Peterson was waiting for her backstage with the biggest smile she had ever seen. "Sarah," he said, putting his hands on her shoulders. "That was incredible. You did not just sing that song. You lived it. You made everyone in that room feel what you have been feeling." "Did I really do okay?" Sarah asked. She still could not quite believe what had just happened. "Okay?" Mr. Peterson laughed. "Sarah, that was one of the most moving performances I have ever seen at this school. You touched people's hearts tonight." Other performers backstage were looking at Sarah with new respect. Lisa Wong, who had seemed so confident earlier, came over to her. "That was amazing," Lisa said. "Your song made me cry. It was so honest and beautiful." Jamie Martinez, who had done the magic show, shook Sarah's hand. "I have never heard an original song like that before. You wrote that yourself?" Sarah nodded, still feeling like she was in a dream. As the talent show continued with the remaining acts, Sarah stood in the wings watching the rest of the performances. But she could barely focus on what was happening on stage. She kept thinking about the moment when the entire audience had stood up and applauded for her. She had spent so many years feeling like she did not matter, like her voice was not worth hearing. Tonight she had proven to herself and everyone else that she was wrong about that. Sarah Chen was not invisible anymore. She had something important to say, and the world was finally ready to listen. When the talent show ended, Sarah was not prepared for what happened next. As the audience started to leave their seats, many people did not head for the exits. Instead, they came toward the stage area where the performers were gathering with their families. Sarah was standing with her mother and Danny when the first person approached her. It was Mrs. Rodriguez, her Spanish teacher, with tears still in her eyes. "Sarah, I had no idea you could sing like that," Mrs. Rodriguez said. "Your song was so beautiful and so brave. Thank you for sharing your heart with us." Then came Mr. Thompson from the math department, followed by several parents Sarah did not even know. Each person had something kind to say about her performance. "That song spoke to my daughter," one mother said. "She has been having a hard time at school, and hearing your words tonight made her feel less alone." But the most surprising visitors were her fellow students. Marcus came over first, beaming with pride. "I told you that you were good," he said. "But even I did not know you were that good. You completely changed the whole room tonight." Then came other classmates. Some Sarah barely knew and some she had never talked to at all. "Your song made me think about times when I felt invisible too," said Jenny Kim, a girl from her English class. "I am sorry I never talked to you before," said David Torres, one of the football players. "I did not realize you had so much to say." Even more shocking was when some of the popular students started approaching her. Sarah saw Ashley Thompson walking toward her and felt her stomach tighten. Was Ashley coming to make fun of her now that the performance was over? But when Ashley reached her, she looked nervous and sincere. "Sarah," Ashley said quietly, "I owe you an apology. I have been really mean to you, and after hearing your song tonight, I realize how much I must have hurt you." Sarah did not know what to say. She had never expected to hear an apology from Ashley Thompson. "Your song made me think about how I treat people," Ashley continued. "I never thought about how it felt to be on the other side of the mean comments. I am really sorry." "It is okay," Sarah said softly, though she was not sure if it really was okay yet. "No, it is not okay," Ashley said. "But I want to try to be better. Maybe we could talk sometime. I would like to get to know the real you." Sarah nodded, still amazed that this conversation was happening. Madison and Chloe, Ashley's usual friends, also came over to apologize. They looked embarrassed about how they had treated Sarah before. As more students and adults came to talk to her, Sarah began to understand what had really happened during her performance. Her song had not just entertained people. It had made them think about their own lives and how they treated others. "You sang about things I have felt but never knew how to say," said Amy Watson, a quiet girl from Sarah's science class. "I always thought I was the only one who felt invisible." "Your song made me realize I have been a bully without meaning to be," said Jake Morrison, another football player. "I never thought about how my jokes might hurt people." Sarah's mother stood beside her, crying happy tears as she watched her daughter receive so much positive attention. Danny held tightly to Sarah's hand, proud of his big sister. "I told you that you sounded like a princess," Danny whispered to her. "Now everyone else knows it too." Mr. Peterson appeared in the crowd of well-wishers. "Sarah, I need to tell you something. During your performance, I saw teachers wiping their eyes. I saw the toughest students in school sitting on the edge of their seats. You did not just sing tonight. You taught everyone in this room something important about empathy and understanding." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. "You helped people remember what it feels like to be different, to be left out, to feel like you do not matter. But you also showed them that everyone has value. Everyone has a voice worth hearing." As the crowd around her started to thin out, Sarah noticed that people were looking at her differently than they ever had before. Instead of looking through her like she was invisible, they were really seeing her. Instead of dismissing her as weird or unimportant, they were treating her with respect. The transformation was not just in how others saw Sarah, though. Something had changed inside her, too. Standing on that stage and sharing her most personal feelings had been terrifying, but it had also been incredibly freeing. For years, Sarah had hidden who she really was because she was afraid people would not accept her. Tonight, she had shown everyone exactly who she was, fears and dreams and all, and they had not only accepted her, they had celebrated her. "Sarah?" came a voice behind her. She turned around and saw Tommy Martinez, the boy who had made fun of her glasses just a few days ago. "I wanted to say I'm sorry for being mean to you," Tommy said, looking at the floor. "Your song made me think about my little sister. She is shy like you, and if someone treated her the way I treated you, I would be really angry." "Thank you for saying that," Sarah replied. "Also," Tommy added, looking up at her, "you have a really amazing voice. Like, you could be on the radio or something." As Sarah's family prepared to leave the school that night, she felt like she was walking in a dream. The hallways that had always felt hostile and unwelcoming now seemed different. She was still the same person she had been that morning, but somehow everything had changed. "I'm so proud of you, baby," her mother said as they walked to their car. "You were incredible up there." "I was so scared," Sarah admitted. "Being brave does not mean you are not scared," her mother said. "It means you do something important even when you are scared." Danny fell asleep in the car on the way home, exhausted from all the excitement. As her mother carried him into the house, Sarah sat in her room and looked at herself in the mirror. She still had the same thick glasses. She still had the same plain face and simple clothes. But something in her eyes was different. She looked confident, like she knew she had something valuable to offer the world. Sarah opened her notebook and started writing a new song. This one was not about feeling invisible or alone. This one was about finding the courage to be yourself and discovering that authenticity was more powerful than popularity. As she wrote, Sarah thought about all the people who had talked to her after the performance. So many of them had said that her song made them feel less alone. That meant there were other students at her school who felt just like she had felt. Maybe her performance tonight was not just about finding her own voice. Maybe it was about helping other people find theirs too. Sarah smiled as she wrote her new lyrics. Tomorrow, school would be different. She would still be the same person. But now everyone would know that the quiet girl with glasses had a powerful voice and important things to say. She was not invisible anymore. She was Sarah Chen, and she mattered. Monday morning arrived, and Sarah woke up feeling nervous all over again. The weekend had been wonderful, with neighbors and family friends calling to congratulate her on her performance. But now she had to face school, and she was not sure what to expect. Would people still be nice to her, or would they go back to ignoring her once the excitement of the talent show wore off? Would the popular students who had apologized to her actually follow through on being kinder, or would they pretend Friday night had never happened? Sarah put on her usual clothes and glasses, grabbed her backpack, and walked to school with butterflies in her stomach. As she approached the front entrance, she saw groups of students talking and laughing like always. For a moment, nothing seemed different, but then something amazing happened. "Sarah," called out a voice. It was Amy Watson, the quiet girl from science class who had talked to her after the performance. Amy was walking with two other students Sarah did not know well. "We wanted to ask you something," Amy said when she reached Sarah. "Would you maybe want to sit with us at lunch today?" Sarah blinked in surprise. In all her years at this school, no one had ever invited her to sit with them at lunch. "Really?" Sarah asked. "We were talking about your song all weekend," said one of the other girls. It made us realize that there are probably a lot of students at this school who feel left out. We thought maybe we could start sitting together, like a group for people who do not really fit in anywhere else. Sarah felt tears starting to form in her eyes. I would love that. As she walked through the hallways that morning, Sarah noticed more changes. Students who had never acknowledged her before were smiling and saying hello. Some people she barely knew were telling her how much they had enjoyed her performance. In her first class, Mrs. Rodriguez made a point to tell the whole class how proud she was of Sarah's courage at the talent show. Several students turned around to smile at Sarah, and she felt her face turn red with happiness rather than embarrassment. But the most surprising change came during second period. Sarah was at her locker when Ashley Thompson approached her, this time without her usual group of friends. "Hi, Sarah," Ashley said, seeming genuinely nervous. "I was wondering if I could talk to you for a minute." They walked to a quieter part of the hallway, and Ashley took a deep breath before speaking. "I have been thinking about what you said in your song, about feeling invisible and not mattering," Ashley said. "The truth is, sometimes I feel that way too, even though I know that probably sounds crazy to you." Sarah looked at her with surprise. Ashley Thompson, feeling invisible? That did seem impossible. "I know I am popular and people know who I am," Ashley continued. "But sometimes I feel like they only like me because of how I look or who I hang out with. I do not think anyone really knows the real me." Sarah nodded slowly. She was beginning to understand that maybe everyone felt invisible, in their own way. "Your song made me realize that I have been so focused on trying to look perfect and popular that I forgot about being real," Ashley said. "I want to try being more honest like you were on Friday night." "That sounds nice," Sarah said carefully. She was still not sure if she could trust Ashley completely, but this conversation felt different from their previous interactions. "Would you maybe want to eat lunch together sometime this week?" Ashley asked. "I know I do not deserve it after how I treated you, but I would really like to be friends. Real friends, not the fake kind." Sarah thought about Amy's invitation to sit with her new group, and then she had an idea. "Actually," Sarah said, "some other students asked me to sit with them today. Maybe you could join all of us? I think we are trying to start a group for people who want to be more real with each other." Ashley's face lit up with genuine happiness. "That sounds perfect." At lunchtime, Sarah walked into the cafeteria with her head held high for the first time ever. She found Amy's table, which now had 5 students sitting around it, including Ashley. The conversation at lunch was different from what Sarah had imagined popular kids talked about. Instead of gossiping or bragging, everyone was sharing real things about their lives. Amy talked about being afraid to speak up in class. A boy named Robert shared that he felt pressure to be funny all the time. Ashley admitted that she was scared people would not like her if she was not always perfect. "Sarah's song made me realize that we all feel alone sometimes," Amy said. "Maybe we do not have to feel that way if we actually talk to each other about real things." "I wish I had been brave enough to perform something that honest," said Marcus, who had joined their table too. "Sarah, you inspired a lot of people on Friday night." Sarah felt warm and happy in a way she had never experienced at school before. For the first time, she was part of a group where she felt like she truly belonged. Word spread quickly about the new lunch group. By Wednesday, their table had grown to 8 students. By Friday, they had to push 2 tables together to fit everyone who wanted to join. The group was made up of all different kinds of students: popular kids, quiet kids, athletes, artists, and students who had never fit into any particular category. What they all had in common was a desire to be real with each other instead of hiding behind masks. Mr. Peterson noticed the changes happening around school too. During one of Sarah's visits to the music room, he told her something that made her feel incredibly proud. "Sarah, do you know what you have done?" he asked. "Your performance did not just entertain people. It started a movement. Students are being kinder to each other. They are reaching out to kids who used to sit alone. You opened up conversations about acceptance and empathy." "I just sang a song," Sarah said modestly. "No, you did much more than that. You showed everyone that being vulnerable and honest takes real courage, and that courage is contagious." Sarah had also started a small singing group that met in the music room after school. Several students who had been inspired by her performance wanted to try writing and performing their own songs. Ashley had surprised everyone by revealing that she wrote poetry, and she was working on turning one of her poems into a song. "I never shared my writing with anyone before," Ashley told the group. But watching Sarah be so brave made me want to try being brave too. The singing group was planning to perform at the next school assembly. This time, Sarah would not be alone on stage. She would be surrounded by friends who supported her and understood what it meant to find your voice. 3 weeks after the talent show, Sarah was walking down the hallway when she overheard 2 younger students talking. "Did you see that girl Sarah Chen perform at the talent show?" one of them said. "She was so cool. I want to be brave like her someday." "My sister said she started a lunch group where everyone can just be themselves," the other student replied. "I think I might try sitting with them tomorrow." Sarah smiled to herself as she continued walking. The scared, invisible girl who had signed up for the talent show was still part of her. But she was no longer defined by fear and loneliness. She had found her voice, and in doing so, she had helped others find theirs too. The audience had laughed when she came out on stage that Friday night. But by the time she finished singing, there was not a dry eye in the house. Most importantly, Sarah had learned that sometimes the people who laugh at you at the beginning are the same people who will give you a standing ovation at the end, if you are brave enough to show them who you really are. 6 months later, Sarah Chen stood in front of her bedroom mirror. But this time she was not the same girl who had trembled before her talent show performance. She was getting ready for her high school graduation, and in the fall she would be starting at the State University on a full music scholarship. The scholarship had come as a surprise. After a video of her talent show performance was shared online by a proud parent, it had caught the attention of the university's music department. They invited Sarah to audition, and when she sang the same song that had changed everything at her school, they offered her a full ride immediately. "You ready for tonight, superstar?" Danny asked, bouncing into her room. He was 7 now and even more proud of his big sister than ever. "I think so," Sarah said, smiling at him in the mirror. She was wearing a simple but elegant dress for the graduation ceremony, and her confidence showed in the way she carried herself. The changes in Sarah's life had been remarkable, but they went far beyond personal success. The lunch group she had started had grown into an official school club called Real Voices. It now had over 50 members and had inspired similar groups at other schools in the district. The club organized events focused on kindness, acceptance, and giving everyone a chance to be heard. They ran peer support groups, organized talent showcases for shy students, and created a mentorship program where older students helped younger ones who were struggling with bullying or loneliness. Ashley Thompson had become one of Sarah's closest friends and was now the president of Real Voices. The transformation in Ashley had been just as dramatic as Sarah's own journey. She had learned to value authenticity over popularity, and her genuine kindness had made her more respected than her previous fake perfection ever had. "I never thought I would say this," Ashley had told Sarah a few weeks earlier, "but being real is so much better than being popular. When people like you for who you actually are, it feels amazing." The singing group that had started in Mr. Peterson's music room had also grown into something special. They now performed regularly at school events, community gatherings, and even at other schools that invited them to share their message of acceptance and courage. Marcus had become the group's songwriter, discovering a talent he never knew he had. Amy had overcome her fear of speaking and now helped lead workshops for shy students. Even some of the former bullies had joined the group, using music to explore their own feelings and make amends for past behavior. "Sarah, they are ready for you," called her mother from downstairs. Tonight was graduation night, but it was also special for another reason. Sarah had been chosen as the student speaker for the ceremony. The girl who once ate lunch alone in the music room would now address the entire graduating class and their families. As Sarah walked down to meet her family, she thought about how much had changed since that terrifying Friday night when she first stepped onto the stage. The scared, invisible girl was still part of her, but now that girl was balanced by confidence, purpose, and the knowledge that her voice truly mattered. At the graduation ceremony, Sarah sat with her fellow graduates, listening as their principal talked about the class's achievements. When it was time for her speech, she walked to the podium with steady steps and looked out at the audience. Many of the same faces that had laughed at her 6 months ago were now looking at her with respect and admiration. But more importantly, Sarah could see younger students in the audience, the current juniors and sophomores who would be the next class to graduate. 6 months ago, I stood on this same stage, terrified and convinced that I had nothing worth saying, Sarah began, her voice clear and strong. Tonight, I want to talk to you about the power of finding your voice and using it to help others find theirs. She talked about the loneliness of feeling invisible and the courage it takes to be vulnerable in front of others. She spoke about how one moment of bravery can change not just your own life, but the lives of everyone around you. I learned that the things that make us different are not weaknesses to hide. Sarah continued, they are strengths to celebrate. I learned that when we stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be real, we give other people permission to do the same. In the audience, Sarah could see students nodding and some wiping away tears. She could see her mother crying with pride and Danny giving her a thumbs up. To the younger students here tonight, I want you to know that your voice matters, Sarah said, looking directly at the underclassmen. Whatever you are going through, whatever makes you feel different or alone, there is someone else who needs to hear your story. Do not wait for permission to be yourself. Do not wait for courage to find you. Take that first scary step, because on the other side of fear is everything you have ever wanted. When Sarah finished her speech, the entire auditorium erupted in applause. Students, parents, and teachers were all on their feet, cheering for the girl who had taught them all something important about acceptance, courage, and the power of authenticity. After the ceremony, Sarah was surrounded by people wanting to congratulate her and thank her for her words. But the conversation that meant the most to her came from a shy freshman girl who approached her nervously. Sarah, the girl said quietly, I heard your story and it gave me hope. I've been too scared to join any clubs or try to make friends, but after listening to you tonight, I think I want to audition for the singing group next year. Sarah smiled and put her hand on the girl's shoulder. What is your name? Emma, the girl replied. Well, Emma, I would love to hear you sing sometime. And even if you are nervous about auditioning, remember that everyone in our group felt scared at first. We will be there to support you. As Sarah's family prepared to leave the graduation ceremony, Mr. Peterson found her in the crowd. Sarah, I have something for you, he said, handing her a small wrapped package. Do not open it now, but when you do, I want you to remember that your voice has changed this entire school. Later that night, Sarah opened Mr. Peterson's gift in her bedroom. Inside was a framed photo from her talent show performance, showing her at the piano with the audience giving her a standing ovation. On the back he had written, To Sarah, you taught us all that the most beautiful voices often come from the quietest hearts. Never stop singing. Sarah placed the photo on her desk next to her acceptance letter to the university. In a few months, she would start a new chapter of her life, studying music and preparing for a career where she could help other young people find their voices. But she would never forget the night when a scared, lonely girl walked onto a stage expecting to be laughed at, and instead found the courage to change her entire world. The audience had laughed when she came out, but one performance had made everyone weep, not because it was sad, but because it was real. And in a world full of pretense and performance, realness was the most powerful thing of all. Sarah Chen had found her voice, and in doing so, she had taught everyone around her that they had voices worth hearing too. The quiet girl with thick glasses had become a leader, a friend and an inspiration. Most importantly, she had learned that being different was not something to hide from the world. It was a gift to share with it. As Sarah drifted off to sleep on her graduation night, she was already planning the songs she would write in college, the students she would mentor, and the voices she would help others discover. The girl who had once felt invisible had become impossible to ignore, not through popularity or perfection, but through the simple, revolutionary act of being genuinely herself.